While my family loves visiting Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens no matter what time of year, we really have a lot of fun during peak bloom season in the summer. The water lilies and lotus flowers are beautiful and worthy of capturing in a painting. Don't think you have the skills? Need tips to enhance your painting expertise? We've got you covered with a How to Paint Lotus Flowers art session right here. So press pause and grab your paint materials, newspaper, scrap paper to cover your work area. You're now ready to create your own lotus flower to admire all year round.
Oh, hi there, and welcome. My name is Simone Augustoye. Today I'll be showing you all how to paint a lotus flower. So for this demonstration, you will need your painting surface, whether it's a canvas or a sketchbook. Today I'll be using a 16 by 20 white cotton canvas, as well as a pencil so you can sketch out your flower. That way it will make the painting process a little bit easier. For paints, today I'll be using a pink, a brilliant magenta, aquarium blue. I'm using also a permanent green light as well as a white. You feel free to use primary colors if you don't have these colors nearby. You can use yellow, red, blue, and white to make your colors. So to get started, we're going to sketch out our lotus flower. I've already begun sketching the beginning, the prominent leaf, the prominent petal of the flower. And you want to kind of make sure it's centered on your canvas. But again, this is your painting, so feel free to be as creative as you would like. I have my reference photo here as well, but I am in the beautiful Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens where we have inspiration of flowers and lilies all around us, so enjoy. So for this first petal, you want it to be pretty dominant. The shape that I'm using is like an oval shape, or you can think of an egg shape to get this first petal down. And off of this petal, we'll be creating about 10 to 14 other petals to create the full lotus flower. So once you have your prominent leaf drawn in, we're gonna go ahead and draw 2 adjacent petals. Again, keep in mind the oval shape. Each oval shape will look a little bit different, but as you're sketching, just keep that in mind. And also remember that this is just a sketch. So here we have 3 petals. The center, and then the 2 on the left and the right side. And from here, we're gonna draw an opening petal right here, and that's gonna be of a shape of a bow. You can also think of a half moon, a crescent moon, if you will, on its side. Or even you can think of a smile while drawing in this petal, this particular petal right here in the opening. All right, so again, we're gonna repeat this step by drawing 2 other petals adjacent to the prominent one. And don't focus too much about perfecting your flower at this point, because this is just a rough sketch just to help with the painting process. You don't have to feel dedicated to this sketch. It's just to help you work out the details and the placement of where you want your lotus flower. So I have my opening flowers here. Now I'm gonna go and draw some background petals in the back. So for this, I'm following that egg-like shape, thinking ovals. But for this one, I won't be drawing the whole oval. Just focusing on the top part. And if you notice, this side is kind of mimicking this side. They don't have to be perfect, just mimicking. Okay. So just take a step back and look at your drawing to see how it's coming along and filling out your flower. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and draw the behind part of the flower because we wanna make it look 3D. So I will be drawing the same elements, but in the background, so we're just gonna be catching the top part. Again, we're gonna start with this prominent petal right here, the backdrop. It's gonna be a little bit wider, and we're just gonna focus on the top part of the shape, because this is the opening of the flower right here. So we have those two, and again, we wanna draw those side petals on each side and creating that enclosure for the flower. And then again, take a step back, take a look. And I feel like it needs probably about 2 to 3 more petals. Again, this is just a sketch. We can add more later. And we can even subtract. You just want to get a nice, full lotus flower. Okay, I'm gonna draw just some sketches right here, some petals in the center, just to give me a better sense of what the flower will look like overall. Again, take a step back. Half of painting is looking. You do more looking than you do painting and drawing, believe it or not. Okay, so once you feel satisfied with your drawing, with your sketch, we can go ahead and move on to the painting process. I'm just gonna draw a stem here, a little stem, but maybe your lotus is floating in the river or in the pond, so you don't have to worry about this. Just kind of think of and imagine where you want your lotus flower to be and how you're gonna incorporate the background. So if you're ready to start painting, I'm gonna start with the pink. Again, if you do not have pink, you can use red and white to create your pink color. And I'm gonna put my swatches right on the canvas so that you can see. So we're gonna start with a pink and a white. And with this, we will be creating about 3 different shades to create the dimension within our lotus flower. So if you have your paintbrushes, I recommend having 3 different sizes. Having a large square-headed paintbrush like this. You can also have a medium-sized paintbrush. This is a filbert paintbrush. And then also a small square-headed paintbrush. So the shape doesn't really matter as long as you have a large, medium, and small paintbrush. I also have some paper towels here, and I have a jar of water to help with the paint and mixing colors and helping the paint to flow on the canvas. So to get started, I'm gonna start with my small paintbrush. I'm gonna use this small paintbrush to go ahead and outline my flower. So I have a little bit of water on here to help the paint flow. And I'm gonna grab my pink straight out the tube. And I'm just gonna go ahead and trace over my sketch. So just trace out all the lines that you created in your first step. Again, we may be doing 2 layers, 2 or 3 layers depending on your paint and how it flows. With painting, you never have to feel restricted to what you see. And that's the fun part about painting. And creating something new. So So here we just are going to focus on outlining all of our pencil marks. Okay. So this is nature. We're painting nature right now. So you don't have to feel like all of your flowers need to look exactly the same. Each petal does not need to look exactly the same. Your painting might not look exactly like my painting, and that's fine because not all lotus flowers are identical. We want them to be unique in their own special way. So once you have all of your outlines traced with the pink, we're gonna go ahead and start adding in our color. So, as mentioned before, we're gonna have 3 shades of the pink. We wanna have our straight pink from the tube, and then for our next swatch of colors, we wanna add a little bit of white to it. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the pink and a little bit of the white. I'm gonna mix it together. Okay, and you don't have to put your swatches on your painting or your canvas or your painting service. If you have a paint palette nearby, you can use that. If you have some extra paper nearby, you can use that, cardboard, whatever you like to use. But I like to keep all the paint on my painting service. So I'm making 3 swatches here. This one's gonna have a little bit more of the pink. You see it's a little bit deeper. And then this one is more of the white. And then we have our straight white and we have our straight pink. Now from here, we're gonna go ahead and switch to our medium-sized paintbrush. I'm gonna just dip that in some water to help get the paint to flow. And I wanna focus on my dominant petal in the center. To make this petal 3D, we really wanna focus this darker color on the edge. That's why when we outline our sketch with that color, it'll make the process a little bit easier because we're just gonna enhance that color, deepen that color, and I'm using strokes, straight up and down strokes for this. Again, feel free to paint how you like. If you want to just use dabs when dabbing it, your technique and your style. It's all about finding what you like and how you like to paint. But for me, I'm going to be doing up and down strokes, and that's going to create some texture for the flower as well. I'm going to grab some more pink. Again, this dominant pink. And I want to think about the light as I'm painting this and where the light is hitting the flower. So in this particular painting, I'm going to say the light is hitting from this side, more so from the left side. So with that, I'm going to make it darker on the right side of my painting. So you see, I'm going in a little bit more with this intense color. Okay, so once we're gonna leave this as is, and we're gonna work on the other petals. This petal, I'm gonna add that dark pink right to the top of it, in the edge of my petal. I'm also working out the shape a little bit more. But this, I'm just gonna focus on the top for this petal. I'm gonna move on to my next petal and kind of mimic the same painting technique. Just hitting the top edges of the petal and really defining each petal as its individual beauty, which makes the full flower in itself beautiful. So I'm hitting the edge. Now we're gonna do a little bit something different for here. These opening petals down here, we're gonna kind of leave them as is because we don't want to hit it too dark, because these opening leaves are really reflecting and catching the light. So we're gonna leave those, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to this side, our left side, where a lot of light is hitting. So I'm gonna hit the opposite side of each petal, the left side. Here we focus more so on the right side of each petal. And now we're gonna focus on the left side over here, and the left side of each petal on this side. And then the tip as well. One good thing I like about painting flowers is that I don't have to worry about cleaning my paintbrush too much, because all the colors blend together eventually. So you don't have to worry too much about cleaning off your paintbrush and things like that. And we're still working with the one color, okay? And just creating that depth and fill. So once you've kind of hit each petal, we're gonna go in with our medium color. That is where we have more pink than white. I would say about 75% pink and 25% white. And just grab some of that paint on your paintbrush, and we're gonna go ahead and paint in each petal. Again, I'm using up and down strokes, vertical strokes, and I'm trying to allow the paint to blend with the edge. Keeping a very loose hand. And then over here as well. And this will serve as our base color for our lotus. See, I'm doing vertical strokes and really keeping in mind the shape of the flower and allowing my strokes to kind of mimic that. And I'm skipping over a few petals where I see that that light is hitting a little bit more in those petals. Okay, so for the remaining petals, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to my third swatch color here. And this is where it's 75% white and 25% pink. If you need to add some water, just to help the paint flow a little bit better, I'm not using it to clean my paintbrush off or anything. I'm just using the water to help the paint flow on the canvas. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and paint in all the remaining petals. Again, I'm still using my medium-sized paintbrush. Okay, and try to keep in mind the shape of the flower and adding texture just with your paint strokes. You know, I'm keeping it very loose. I'm not heavy-handed. I'm just letting the paint glide on the canvas. You really want to make sure you get all the paint covered, all the canvas covered with the paint. Even your sketch marks, you might see that peeking through. So try to get that to cover. And that's why I said you might do 2 or 3 layers for this particular painting, just depending on your paints and how prominent there are. Bring this up a little bit. I left a little bit of space right here, but we'll address that a little bit later in the painting when we introduce another color. But I really want the rest of these petals to be the lighter pink. Okay, and I'm using the edge of my paintbrush here to really create those lines and those textures with each petal. And I just picked up a little bit more white and kind of go over those petals. Just gonna get a touch more pink. Alright, and fill in these. Again, I'm using the edge of my paintbrush. And I'm working on the side that has more light hitting the flower. And I want to make sure the white of the canvas is covered. Going back and forth with my medium and my light color, just so I don't lose the edge, but really focusing on that lighter color. So one thing I like about acrylic paints is that they dry really fast, so that we can really work in layers and really create depth with our flower. Okay, so once you have the flower completely painted in, and working outside in the garden, my painting is drying a little bit faster, so I don't have to worry too much about that. Just try to find areas where you need another coat. Make your darks a little bit darker by picking up that pink straight from the tube and going over the edge a little bit more. You notice I did not clean off my paintbrush because I want the colors to blend in. Even if you want some texture with the paint, and I'm just going over each petal, defining each one. Take a step back. Always look at your painting while you're painting. And I'm checking out my reference photo as well. I really want to clean up these lines for each petal. So at this prominent petal in the middle, I just want to make it a little bit dark at the base. I still have a little white space here. I'm going to add a peak of yellow there. Just a little peak of yellow, so that's why I have it painted that section in. If you already painted it in, that's fine. It's paint, we can paint over it. Just keep looking and seeing where you can improve on your flower. So you always want to just take a look at your painting and check out your process. Look for any details that you want to add, intensifying any of the colors. For me, I like a really loose painting. So for me, I think this looks good. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in this leaf, this petal a little bit more. Okay, add a little bit more here. And once you have your base down, we can go in with details. We can go in with details using your small brush. So I'm just taking a look, seeing how I feel about everything. All the petals. I think this one needs a little bit more definition. So you never can know as an artist. You just have to make the decision that it is complete. So you can spend a lot of time perfecting this, really getting your darks as dark as you like. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to adding details. Once I add one little stroke here, this petal to make it more 3D, so I added a little bit of that medium pink underneath, just to give it a more of a 3D feel. Grab a little bit more pink. And just define this line a little bit more. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna use my small paintbrush now, and you see it still has a little bit of paint on there, and that's fine. We're gonna use this to add details to our flower. So I wanna create that lighter color where it was more white than pink. I'm gonna get some water just to help with the paint to flow a little bit better. Now mixing that up, I'm gonna get a tad bit more water. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna create that texture with each petal. I'm gonna start with the lightest petal, which is this one, off to the far left. And I'm gonna just draw lines that create texture. And you wanna make sure that you have enough white to stand out against the color that's already there. So I'm gonna add a little bit more white and do a test. See, it's very subtle, and subtle is fine. Subtle is fine. Adding more water to help with the flow. And again, I'm using the edge. I'm using the edge of my paintbrush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add some lines to create that texture. Inside the petal and underneath. Okay. Because these are the petals that are kind of facing you a little bit and opened up a little. And you want to add that dimension with the colors, and then we're going to do the same for this petal. I'm going to focus it mainly right here in the corner, right against that pink. Okay. This opening leaf right here kind of already has the effect that I'm looking for. So if you want to add a little bit more to it, by all means. But for now, I'm going to leave it as is and then move on to this leaf over here and create a few strokes and lines in here as well. Again, I'm going to add more water to help get the paint to flow. And I'm just doing some stroke lines like that. Very effortless, light touch. And if you want to, you can even add some white right here. Okay? Get a little bit underneath of the petal. And just going to repeat that same thought pattern for the rest. Add some definition. Looking at the reference photo, using my edge of my paintbrush to create some lines, some texture. Get some more water to really get this paint to flow, especially being outside. It's drying really fast. So if you're in your painting studio or wherever you're painting, if you notice your paint is drying a little fast, just grab some water. And now I'm gonna add some of those strokes to my dominant flower. Just some vertical strokes. Let the paintbrush do all the work. And these lines are kind of curving in a bit. All right. And as you can see, your painting is coming together. I'm going to create those lines for each of the petals. Okay. And the last petal that needs some texture is this one. Just gonna add a little bit of lines. Okay, so it is coming together nicely. And again, I'm just gonna add a little bit more details to the side, but you don't wanna get lost in the details. You gotta learn when you have accomplished what you set out to accomplish, right? So I'm just adding just a little bit more details to this flower and just making this petal come in a little bit more, but you don't want to overwork it either, okay? You don't want to overwork it. So looking at this as a whole, I am happy with this. I'm happy with this. I'm satisfied. I'm just taking a look at my reference photo. I think this petal just needs a little bit more love right in there. Okay. Again, you can spend as much time on these details as you like, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to the background. Just do a straight little line here. Okay. So every time you say you're finished, you just see something that sticks out. Again, I'm just letting the paints blend together. Okay, so let's work on the background. So for the background, I'm just thinking greenery and water, and really being in this garden today is really having me inspired to create sort of like a water feel for the background. So for that, what I do want to do, since I use my canvas as the painting, I'm just going to paint some of the edge with that and bring some of that onto the flower. And just blend it in really quickly. Okay, I'm gonna put my white on the edge. If you paint it on your painting service, just make sure you have it. If you want it smooth, if you want texture back there, you can leave it. So that is gonna be as is. So now we're gonna pull out our big canvas, our big paintbrush. Pulling out our big paintbrush, getting some water just to get our paintbrush ready. And for the background, we're gonna use some green and blue. So I'm gonna add green directly to my canvas because I don't like wasting any paint. And I want this green to kind of represent the leaves, the actual leaves. Sometimes I refer to the petals of leaves, but the actual leaves of the flower. And we're gonna just paint around our lotus. I'm using the edge of my paintbrush to really get clean lines with this. Right? I drew on the stem, but we're gonna just paint right over that. If you wanna keep it, feel free. But I want this lotus to kind of be floating. It's a special lotus with special powers. So it doesn't need a stem. Not in my painting, maybe in yours. Okay, and just let that green go right out. Now, this is a light permanent green color that I'm using. But again, it doesn't have to be exactly the colors that I have here. And I'm just loosely painting the background. I want to go around. And as I get closer up, that's when I'm going to go ahead and add in some blue. So here I'm using horizontal strokes. But as I go up the canvas, I'm going to introduce some blue straight onto the canvas. Okay, so I have my ultramarine blue, and I'm gonna start at the top. And again, I'm not gonna clean my paintbrush or anything. Applying the paint directly to the canvas. You can add yours to your paint palette if you're using a paint palette. And then I'm just gonna do horizontal strokes. Okay, this is gonna represent the water. And I do like the texture that other paint is giving on my canvas. Maybe I can mimic that on the other side by piling up the paint. That's a good thing about acrylics. You kind of work like oil paints or water paints. It's very versatile. I'm even picking up some of that white. But again, for the background, you want it to be as loose as you can. And I'm gonna go ahead and fill this in. When I get closer to my lotus, again, I'm gonna use the edge of my paintbrush to create clean lines. kind of trim her up a little bit. I'm using the edge of this paintbrush. And then when I'm going into the background, I'm using the side. So you can see the different use of your paintbrush, and just let your paintbrush do all the work. You see the green is blending in nicely over here. You don't want to worry too much about your colors. You want it to overlap. I might even add a little bit more water to my paintbrush to help it flow a little bit better so I'm not digging into the canvas. Because you really want to have a light hand when you're doing the background. So grab a touch of water. Okay, edge of the paintbrush. Edge. Catch it. Clean up your lines for your flower. If that's the look that you're going for, again, this is all your interpretation, all your style. Okay, so now that you got the entire, I'm just gonna go down here with the blue and blend it in with the green. I'm keeping horizontal strokes for this, just because I wanted to have represent water a little bit. So I want to have horizontal strokes. Again, your painting style, your painting, feel free. I'm gonna go in here. And I want to probably add a little bit more blue. To get to the bottom, kind of make a vendetta, make the edges darker, and just let it blend in with the green. I really want to break up this green, so I'm going to do some more strokes right here. And then I'm going to add a little bit more water just to help blend out these colors. Just to blend out the colors a bit. Have a light hand. And then there you have it. Your Lotus. Now I did mention I did want to put that peak of yellow right in the center, and then that will complete your painting. So just a peak of yellow and add your details, and you have your Lotus. I'm pulling it right from the tube, right in the center there. Even if you want to fade it out a little bit, I'm using my small detail paintbrush for this. And just add some little flickers of yellow, some light hitting the flower. And there you have it, your lotus. If you want to continue with the background, feel free, but I hope you enjoyed this painting lesson on painting a lotus.